Imagine walking through a forest thousands of years ago. You're not alone. You hear rustling, you grip your spear, but when you turn around, it's not an animal, it's someone or something. A figure like you, but different, bulkier, a wider nose, eyes that study you with caution. You've just met your cousin, a Neanderthal. As you know, we evolved from chimpanzees, well, not from them directly, but from a common ancestor we shared millions of years ago. Over time, this ancient lineage branched out into multiple human-like species, each adapted to their own environments and challenges. Some of these early species include Homo habilis around 2.4 million years ago, credited with some of the earliest stone tools. Then came Homo erectus, emerging roughly 2 million years ago, spreading from Africa into parts of Asia and sticking around for over 1 million years. Fast forward a bit, and we see Homo heidelbergensis, likely the common ancestor of both us and Neanderthals. Then there's the elusive Denisovans, the tiny Homo floresiensis from Indonesia, and even Homo naledi, discovered more recently in South Africa with its strange mix of primitive and modern traits. But here's the twist. Many of these species weren't just popping up one after the other. Some of them coexisted. Their timelines overlapped, which raises the fascinating question, have we ever encountered them? And that's where things get really interesting. Recent research revealed something wild. Not only did we meet them, but we had sex with them. For real. For decades, anthropologists wondered, did Homo sapiens ever meet other human species? And if we did, what happened? Some believed we simply replaced them, that when modern humans migrated out of Africa, we were so advanced technologically and socially that others couldn't keep up with. We were more adaptable, so we survived climate shifts better. We had larger social networks, better tools, or more efficient communication. So, over time, our populations grew, while theirs dwindled. Others imagined darker scenarios, competition, war, even genocide, a slow, relentless wave of Homo sapiens pushing other species into extinction. And then there were the optimists, those who thought maybe there was cooperation, cultural exchange. Maybe they taught us something. Maybe we taught them. Others entertained a more intimate possibility. That interbreeding occurred, that our species didn't just cross paths, but merged briefly. The idea was fringe for a while. No hard evidence, just speculation. But scientists didn't stop from trying to solve the mystery. They analyzed skulls, tools, burial sites. They traced migration patterns. They debated timelines. Neanderthals were the top candidate for contact with modern humans. Fossils and tools from both species were found in overlapping regions of Europe and the Middle East, particularly the Levant region, which covers modern-day Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. It was a key migration corridor between Africa and Eurasia. Because of this, both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens passed through or settled there at various points. The timelines don't perfectly overlap, but they're close enough that some researchers have proposed there may have been brief windows of coexistence. They may have encountered each other somewhere in the Levant during migration waves. Another candidate were the Homo erectus, who lived across Africa and Asia for nearly 2 million years. By the time Homo sapiens emerged, erectus populations were dwindling, but there was speculation that late surviving groups in Southeast Asia, like the Java man, might have overlapped with early modern humans. No direct evidence of interaction was there, but the possibility lingered. Another possible encounter could have been with Homo floresiensis, or the hobbits. This tiny hominin species that has fascinated scientists and storytellers since its discovery in 2003 on the Indonesian island of Flores. Homo floresiensis stood about 3.5 feet tall and weighed around 30 kilograms. They had tiny brains, similar to a chimpanzee, but they still made stone tools, hunted, and possibly used fire. They lived as recently as 50,000 years ago, overlapping with sapiens in Southeast Asia. Liangbua Cave shows Homo floresiensis tools near sapiens' migration routes. For years, it was just a puzzle, with missing pieces and speculative theories. And then one day, someone found a significant piece of that puzzle. In 2010, after years of effort, a team of scientists at the Max Planck Institute achieved something that once seemed impossible. They successfully sequenced the DNA of a Neanderthal using a 40,000-year-old bone found in Vindija Cave in Croatia. And what they discovered? It shook the scientific community to its core, because mixed into that ancient code was us. The genome revealed that modern humans outside Africa carry 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA, which meant one thing: our ancestors didn't just meet Neanderthals, they mated with them. Not once or twice, but enough that those fragments still exist in our blood today. So if you're of European or Asian descent, chances are somewhere between 1 to 2% of your DNA is straight from a Neanderthal ancestor. A literal ghost of prehistory living in your cells. But how did that even happen? Today, we humans still argue about race, caste, culture. Some of us won't even marry outside our sub community. But 50,000 years ago, Homo Sapiens and Neanderthals were out there, interbreeding. Unthinkable, right? And then came another shock. That same year, scientists analyzed a fragment of a finger bone and a tooth from Denisova Cave in Siberia. What they found wasn't Neanderthal. It wasn't Homo sapiens. It was something else. A new species entirely. The Denisovans. And get this, modern humans from Melanesia and Aboriginal Australians carry up to 5% Denisovan DNA. We didn't just meet Neanderthals. We met an entire hidden lineage of humans. And again, we merged. And the list isn't over. Just when you thought we'd met all our ancient cousins, science throws in a new face. One we've never seen. They call it a ghost species. Not because it's spooky, but because it left no fossil, no skull fragments, no cave paintings. Just DNA whispers in the genetic code of millions of modern West African populations, like the Yoruba and Mende population. They found chunks of DNA up to 19% in some individuals. But if there aren't any available remains of that species, how did scientists confirm that it existed and had interbred with Homo sapiens? It all started when researchers began studying the genomes of modern West African populations. Since modern Africans don't carry Neanderthal or Denisovan DNA, the researchers wanted to know: did early Homo sapiens in Africa also interbreed with other archaic humans? To answer that, they compared the genomes of 405 individuals with known human species. What they found was unexpected. Chunks of DNA didn't match any known hominin. It doesn't match Neanderthals, it doesn't match Denisovans, and it definitely doesn't come from any Homo sapiens group we know. So where did it come from? And this couldn't be just the result of evolution. Like a long-lost subgroup of Homo sapiens evolving in isolation, the divergence is way too deep that they must have come from a whole other hominin lineage, one that split off from us maybe 1 million years ago, meaning they were inserted into West Africans through interbreeding. Perhaps we were just that attractive, that everyone wanted some alone time with us. These weren't single encounters, there were unions, families, lineages, stories we'll never know. At one point in time, Earth was home to many kinds of humans. We walked the same ground, breathed the same air, maybe even loved the same way. And now, here we are, alone, the last humans standing. And that should humble us, because we didn't win, because we were chosen. We survived, barely, through chaos, chance, and the silent gifts of those who came before. So next time you look in the mirror, remember, you are not just you. You're a mosaic of ancient bloodlines, a living memory of a world that no longer exists, but still lives before us.